Hello, my name is Ricardo, and this is Taste Porto Bites and Insights Podcast. And today with me, we have a very special guest, Guy. How are you feeling?
Good to be.
Good to be here.
Good to be here.
Very well.
Excellent.
How would you describe one of your normal daily routines here in the city?
Actually, since we've been here full time, it's actually been quite busy. My wife and I have been commenting that we always have something to do, and we gave ourselves like an objective. Being retired, we said let's try walking everywhere. And of course, our apartment is 3 kilometers from the Don Luis One bridge,
Uh-huh.
and so we walk everywhere. So, as an example, on Sunday we went to the festival, the Continent Festival
The
in
food.
Massachusetts,
Yeah.
or Foz, right on the limit, Massachusetts, and we walked there. Took us 2.5 hours, but it's great exercise. But the walk downtown is easy. It's like takes us about 14, 15 minutes, and the worst part is going up the hill in
Yeah.
the back of our house. Once you're up the hill, it's pretty straightforward.
I was about to ask you, how are your calves going?
They're getting there. They're getting there. It's perfect. Being retired is perfect.
You're getting a Porto's calf
Yep,
kind of
we're
work?
getting the workout. The legs are getting used to it.
Does the city get different between the summer and the winter for you? Because you've been here multiple times before you
Yeah,
decided to move here and
yeah.
retire.
Obviously, the people. Ribera just gets like it gets overwhelming sometimes in the summer. The amount of tourists when the cruise ships are in, the river boats are in. It just mind you, it gets full, but people are moving along, so it's not really that bad. If you know where you're going, you just get to point A to point B. When we have guests, we always bring them to Ribera, and we always bring them to Gaia because that's the best place to see Porto from is Gaia, actually. So
The South Bank,
yeah,
exactly.
it's beautiful.
Have you adopted any of those Portoense sayings about the city of Porto to yourself?
We're not tripas. Is that what you're referring to?
Maybe in the sense that there's a lot of expressions that people from Porto randomly use to describe the city and themselves, and that has a tendency to grab on to people visiting. Have you encountered any such
No,
expressions, or
not. I've never, to be honest with you, I never paid attention to it. But one thing's for sure. When I first got here, when I first came here, almost 20 years ago, as a tourist, things were quite different, and I don't think the tourism was set up so there wasn't as much English. And then when I brought my wife in 2011, at the time we were dating, I said, let's go to Portugal. I really enjoyed Portugal. I spent a month in the country, and particularly Porto. I enjoyed Porto. And I was surprised the first time we got here. It was busier, but not as busy as today.
yeah,
So it's changed so much. We visited Porto, we visited the Douro, and at the time, for some reason, I knew that I wanted to retire abroad,
hmm
and Porto was at the top of my list. I don't know why. I don't know what caused me to have this feeling, but Porto became the top of my list.
How did you first get to know about Portugal and having the interest of visiting it?
At the time, I was backpacking with a buddy, and I bought a Lonely Planet on Portugal,
hmm
and I had worked in North Africa for a bit, so I knew about the Iberian Peninsula. I'd been to Spain before, so I said, I'd never been to Portugal because 20 years ago, people didn't say, "Oh, I'm going to Portugal on vacation." The British people knew the Algarve. There's lots of golfing and everything, but Canadians, we didn't know much about it. So a friend of mine said, "Okay, I'll go with you." So we actually flew into Paris, took a train. We came the long way, took a train, then ended up in Bilbao. Then we came down by bus, and then we ended up in Porto. And we worked our way down to Lisbon and then the Algarve. And we truly enjoyed it. We ended up in festivals, eating food.
We're talking
Uh,
about the popular festivals, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We show up, and I forget. I wish I remembered the towns I was in, but we ended up in one town, and the person at the hostel said, "If you guys want to do something tonight, just go to the festival. We have a local festival," and it was in a big, like a gym type of thing or an arena.
Uh-huh.
So we ended up at this festival, and we met people from all over the world. Uh, not necessarily backpackers, and we enjoyed it so much we went the second night too. So we had chorizo, we had lots of wine, and we just tasted the local delicacies, and we enjoyed it.
If you had to do a comparison between the Portugal you met up with 20 or so odd years ago and now, what would be the main differences you would distinguish? Not just talking about the growth of tourism, but also in terms of infrastructure, in terms of even safety. Is there any big
Oh,
difference?
it's built up, totally built up. At the time, 20 years ago, the train I don't think was as reliable. We ended up having to take the bus a lot. The buses were very old. It wasn't set up like it was today. Uh, I think housing was different. The cities themselves were different. There weren't as much construction. A lot of dilapidated buildings. I think Porto seemed grayer. I don't know if I could express that
It
in
is,
that
yeah.
way. This looking at the city itself, it seemed like it was missing a bit of life. It was rough around the edges, uh, but obviously I enjoyed it. And when I brought my wife, and she said, "Yeah, I could see myself here." We both like wine. We both like food. Obviously, gordo. One Portuguese word I learned very quickly.
Gordo?
Gordo, because I am gordo.
I think you're built up. You're built up
uh,
strong.
I like to say I'm fat. Maybe when I was young, I was built up, but no, the it's just amazing. I think it's amazing. I think obviously you learn a lot about people through their food
Hmm.
and their wine and how they are. And we go to like Sunday at the festival. There's thousands of people there
You're talking about the festival just
in
in front of
Messaginish,
the
exactly.
ocean with also a big popular celebration, musicians and a lot of
Yep.
people trying to find
Michelin
food
star
and drink.
chefs.
Yeah.
Lots of wines from all the distributors. And even though there was thousands of people there, you didn't feel like in North America when you go to a place where there's thousands of people, the first thing you do is you go through security. They empty out your bag. You're not allowed coolers. You're not allowed physically. Sometimes they may pat you down. Here, families are walking in with coolers, kids, toys, tricycles. It's a big
Their
picnic.
house, right?
It,
Yeah.
it was amazing. It's amazing.
In terms of the visits you've done here, I have to say that I'm a guide with Taste Porto, and with me alone, you did like two or three tours, food tours.
Yeah.
Since you first came here, your interest for food and the gastronomy scene as a whole grew immensely. How come do you feel that there's still some novelty to visit in the city? And do you feel that?
Yes. Well, first of all, Taste Porto, you guys are constantly evolving. You're constantly changing your tours. So every time we do a tour, whether it be with the same guide or a different guide, it feels different. There might be a different spot. There's different information. There's different flavors that you're trying. So to me, there's no one tour that's the same. Even if it's the Bilal Market tour, you go there from one day to the next. The women at the stalls are different. They're cracking different jokes. They're just the whole vibe in the market is totally different. And we've probably done about 12 to 15 tours altogether. Uh,
That's an impressive number. I don't think I did so many.
and we've done private tours. Private
Hmm.
tours are obviously they're a step above, it's totally different. But we enjoy the public tours. We enjoy being there with other people. That's their first time there in Portugal. And just to watch them, how they're surprised, how they're amazed by the quality, the food, the people. That
You
that you can't
you
beat.
you would say that 20 years ago when you visited first, the cities, the people immediately got you interest in coming back, right?
I think you felt the warmth of the people in Portugal because let's face it, 20 years ago, the average Portuguese didn't have much. But you know what they did have? They had a smile. They were always smiling, always happy, always teasing each other, always. And you realize that even if you don't understand the language, you see how people interact, how
The
how
expression.
families, expressions, how people are laughing, smiling, you know. So that I think it's probably what grew on me the most. And then, of course, the food, and then the wine, and then the scenery. It's beautiful. The Douro Valley is beautiful. I've been to the Algarve, like I said, the first time. I haven't been back. I plan on going back, but it's not something that attracts me.
Mhm.
I don't like to be in towns where it's all Irish pubs and British pubs. It's unfortunate. I'm sure there is, there's obviously a need for that for these people. But for me, I like to be in the local towns, the small towns.
Do you feel over time that gentrification is kicking in into the city, even
Y-
being that you came from abroad and you decided to move over here? Do you notice that?
Yeah, definitely. There's so many cranes, buildings are going up. People, there's a bit of there's complaining against foreigners from coming in and taking over. That side we haven't felt it personally. We've read about it because my wife follows the chats online and all that. So I'm sure there's the same thing in North America. Me coming from Montreal, there's parts of Montreal where it was working class, and now all the yuppies and double income, no kids, and all the people, the professionals, young professionals, moved into these areas, and it's unfortunate for the people living there. They can't afford it anymore, and the same thing's happening here.
Mhm.
And we just spent 10 years in New York, and it's the same thing in New York. So I think it's a sign of the times,
Being that
progress.
you're a well-traveled person and you have those experiences, especially with North America and big urban areas that are definitely being gentrified, wouldn't you say this is kind of a global issue that people now will have to face in the years to come?
Yes, obviously, it's like like if you look at inflation,
Hmm.
everybody, if you coming from the U.S., uh, they think inflation is only a U.S. thing. We go back home to Canada, and people, oh, it's the government's fault, inflation, and you try and explain to them that inflation is across the world, it's everywhere, and they sort of have trouble understanding that and the same thing with gentrification. It's not a solely a North American concept or a Portugal concept. You go anywhere, any country, and you see it everywhere.
Would you say that being in Portugal introduced a new factor to your behavior out of this um, very amicable population that is constantly eager to deepen their relationships? Do you feel that?
I think what my wife and I try to do is we try and shop local. We try and go to local restaurants. Local, when I'm saying local, around our condo. We try and support them. So every Saturday morning, we try and live like the locals. We get up, we go to different little shops in New York. They call them bodegas.
Uh-huh.
We know we go to one shop. We look at the tomatoes. They're so so. Let's go to the other shop. These are better, but the oranges were better at the other place. So we go back to the other place. So we'll spend our Saturday mornings going to four,
Back and
five,
forth.
six different shops, and then we'll stop at the bakery for a coffee, pastel de nata and a coffee. Amy, she's been trying other pastries, but I like my pastels.
In all your time here, and maybe as a summary, would you say that there's one best experience you had in Portugal all over this time?
I think it's a compilation. I wouldn't say there's one best experience, but obviously anything, because we like wine. We go to the Wow Museum. We've been there half dozen times. We have an annual subscription. And I think anything that has to do with food and wine is memorable. It could be just going to a shop, a restaurant, and you're looking at the menu, and you look over, and there's a local sitting there, and you ask them, and they're very happy to tell you what they're having, and okay, I'll try that. That's, to me, that's the experience. It's just the interaction, little interactions throughout the day.
Do you feel as though people here are more open for this kind of personal interaction, human
Yes,
interaction?
yes. I've, like I said, I've never experienced the negativity towards expats, or actually, we don't even consider ourselves expats. We're immigrants. To me, an expat is if a company sends you somewhere. Amy was an expat in New York. Her company in Montreal, her bank sent her to New York City. Expat package. So you get everything that surrounds you. An immigrant, you show up and you do all your stuff on your own through meeting people. You learn how to do stuff. And I started language courses yesterday. I should have listened to Amy and started them 3 years ago. But
Now it's crash course. Right?
crash course online, and then I'm starting the government one in September.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because at first I didn't know which one I should do, private or government. And I think in my case, the government one is probably better, because when we went to I guess the foundation or the federation that are giving it, they're getting money from the government to
Mm-hmm.
give so I don't feel like I'm taking somebody's spot,
Mm-hmm.
because they're getting the money for me attending these classes. So I think that helped us a lot, because I was sort of debating with this. I could afford private. Should I go private? Should I go the public route? And we decided that we're going
Public
to
would be
do.
the way.
Yes, I think
But
so.
going back into food, and because this is something that obviously interests me a lot, was there any dish you had like the first time in your life here that you felt like, oh, what just happened here?
Uh, well, of course, pastel de nata. Of course, you can't go wrong with that. Uh,
I love
but
that it's going
this
to be repeated all throughout. It's
Yeah,
like pastel
probably,
de nata.
probably that'll be the main, the main guy headline. Uh, the chorizo is
Hmm.
amazing, and the bifanas.
Okay.
The bifanas, yeah.
You have any favorite in Porto?
We've been going to Astro because it's right
Close
at the
by to
top
where
of
you
the
live.
hill, right across from Campania. So that's a bit. We used to be a 20-minute walk. I think we have it down to 11 minutes now because of the hill. So we're getting stronger.
And because you're hungry also. You want
Yeah,
to go
that
there, so
too.
you go
There's
quick.
good beer and good bifanas. So we usually have a small super block,
Hmm.
and we have our bifana probably once a week, once every 2 weeks.
What
So
is it in the bifana that you enjoy so much?
I think the flavors. It's so simple. You look at it, and it's basically it looks like leftovers in a way, but it's so delicious. It's just the sauces and the bread and the way it's marinated, and even though it looks simple, it's so complex. The flavors in it,
Layered, right?
oh, it's crazy. It's amazing. And every time we brought our parents to have bifanas. Obviously, we do it on the tour
Hmm.
also, and but right now, because it's so close, that's our staple. We tried Francesinha's. Am I pronouncing it right,
You're
Francine?
pronouncing it completely right.
To me, it's too heavy. It's delicious, but it's too heavy to have on a daily basis. Uh, and I look around at lunchtime. Sometimes we'll stop for a beer and we'll have either a quick bite, either a hot dog
Uh huh.
or a bifana, and we'll look around, and all the workers are sitting there with these massive plates, rosa and everything, and beer, and I can eat like that on a daily basis.
It's curious because the francesinha has this thing of you need to run a marathon to burn it out because it's close
It's,
to 1,500 calories. So, do you feel like eventually you're gonna need that for your daily routine of walking in Porto?
if we have a big meal like that, I think I'll have to have a salad for supper. And like my wife says, nobody makes friends with salads. So.
Nobody at all. If you were to have to do a guided visit
Yeah.
to some of your friends or even relatives coming over, what would the places that you would select to go on a visit?
Obviously, Bilal Market.
Hmm.
Obviously, I'd bring them in the train station in Sao Bento, but now there's lots of construction, so I don't know. It's when there's a lot of construction, there's a lot of people, so it's hard to get to. I probably the time out. I went there once. I think people coming over, it's an easy transition if you want to try different things. Especially if most of my friends have kids, and usually teenagers, or sometimes they're fussy, sometimes they're not. So you bring them to a place like Time Out where there's several, different things they could try. Then from there, we always bring them to Gaia.
Hmm.
We normally in Gaia we take them to Wow to see an exposition or to see the Rose Museum is great
Hmm.
for people younger people that like the Instagram. It's such an
The Cadillac
Instagrammable place.
there.
The Cadillac, everything's pink. You get to try the delicious wines. Then from there, we probably sit on the terrace at Sandeman, right in front of actually their venue, and they have
So
also
look
a
at the
hostel.
gondolas.
Yeah, exactly. But we have the sangria. We
Oh,
sit there with a cheese plate, sangria, and we look at Porto and we look at the people go by. We probably did we probably did that too often. And next thing you know, you look at your watch and oh my God, I've been here for 5 hours. 3 pitchers of sangria.
would you say that you already had back in the past before moving here this habit of people watching?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's something that I've liked to do, whether I be in Portugal or in France or anywhere else, to sit at a cafe and just watch people go by, watch how they interact, watch how they interact not only amongst themselves but with different people. Something as simple as somebody looking for directions. Look, in the old days, you looked at a map, and people approached them and say, "Could I help you?"
Hmm.
you know and even if they don't speak the language, Porto's like that. If people see that you're struggling, let's say with Portuguese, do you want
They'll
me to
try
speak
and help.
English? Do
Yeah.
you want me to? Or even if they don't speak English, they really try to have you understand them, and they want to understand you. And I think that's great. Whether you're talking to a 65, 75-year-old lady who she doesn't speak English, but just the way she's smiling, the way she's communicating, her body language, you understand what she wants to tell you. So it's
What would you, in your view, what would you say that makes the city so easygoing? In your experience, what makes you say that, or how come do you feel that people here are so open and friendly and amicable?
I think basically, even though we say Porto is a city, to me it's like a big village. Everybody seems to know each other. Everything is walkable. Everything you could reach to within a 5 or 10 minute walk. Even on the outskirts, if you want to take the subway is gorgeous. The buses are great, uh, and not to mention Bolt. Like
Hmm.
if you come here from North America and you have Uber and you go somewhere, it's $20, $25. Here, I could basically cross the whole city for €3 with a Bolt. This morning we took a Bolt. I think the tip was more expensive than the actual ride. Uh,
Do you believe that took that had a big weight on your decision to select Porto instead of any other destination for retirement?
well, my wife retired very young for retirement standards.
Hmm.
She's 49. So when she sat down and we started looking at the cost of living, we couldn't retire in North America. We'd been away from, when I say North America, the US, we couldn't retire. Canada, we've been away for 10 years. So to move back to Canada, we felt like it was going backwards. Even though her family's still there, my friends are still there, it just it didn't feel right. So our natural progression was Europe. So of course we had been there, and she loved it, I loved it. So we said and she had been doing research.
Hmm.
She looked into the golden visa and what it took and everything. So she did the math, and she said, "Yeah, let's retire in
Crunch the
Portugal."
numbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say that there was any like low point, bad experience, bad memory about coming over?
Uh,
Any because we a lot of the times have a tendency to stick with the positives
yeah,
of the
yeah.
experience, not acknowledging that also the bad parts of the experiences are what makes the good part more
It adds to
beautiful. Yeah.
the total experience. I think there's two things. Obviously, bureaucracy is very top heavy, and at first I was very, oh my God, what the hell's going on and everything. But I think we've adopted a mindset that if you want to do something, especially with the government, 3 times. So you go once, they inform you, listen, you need this paper. Okay, go back home, go back a second time. you might get a different person. She says, you need some other paper. Okay. The third time when you get there, you have too many papers, but you have all the important ones. So that once you adopt that mindset, there's no issues.
Yeah.
It's not going to change. That's the way it is. Because even you talk to the Portuguese, and you guys are frustrated at this, but that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's business as usual. It's the same thing in North America. There's stuff that we've experienced in North America where why are they doing it this way? That's the way it
It's a
is.
big paper machine, right?
Yeah, exactly. You just big sausage grinder. You just get into it, and you come out at the other end, and everything's done. Your sausage. There's that, and there's a funny interaction we had with a. We were having. My wife wanted to get her SIM card,
Mm-hmm.
her eSIM for her phone, and I think it's a requirement for people that work at cell phone boutiques that they have to be difficult. So this girl started yelling at us in Portuguese. The advantage is we didn't understand half of what she was saying, but it's funny because I think everywhere I've been to a cell phone company or a boutique, you always end up in a shouting match with the person on the other end. But that was the only caveat since we've
Mm-hmm.
been here, and that's over the course of 5 years, coming multiple times a year, minimum 4 to 6 times a year we used to come. So yeah, there's not bad at all.
It's actually a great ratio,
Yes,
right?
a very great ratio. And since we've been here, we've applied for our social security card,
Mm-hmm.
which we pick up next week. We've applied for our medical, our
Mm-hmm.
NIS, is it
Yes.
NIS? The
Número de
medical, no,
identificação de saúde.
SIS, SIS,
Health.
healthcare. We got that. That was super fast. We had to deal with the our city hall, Campania City Hall, to get a piece of paper. So that took 3 times, but in the end,
It
the,
gets finished. It gets
it, get,
done.
it gets done. It- it's funny because sometimes I'll sit there and I'll get a bit aggravated, and my wife will look at me and she'll say, "You got to trust the system." So once we get the piece of paper, I turn to her and I say, "See, I told you, you got to trust the system."
Would you define or characterize the people from Porto, the Portuenses or the tripeiros, as we were saying, in any particular way? Is there anything that you instantaneously, when you think about someone from Porto, you go like, oh, this person is like this?
Yeah, I think the warmth, the smile and the warmth. As an example, last week we were walking through Bilao,
Mm-hmm.
and like always, I walk through Bilao, and sometimes we'll bump into one of your tours, and Andres was there, and we didn't want to disturb him. We were just waving, and he stopped the tour and he came running over. I gotta say hi to these people, and just that, and Amy looked at me and she goes, "We made the right decision. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
It's the warmth, genuinely." Sorry, I'm bastardizing the word.
You can go to French if you want.
I can't even say it in French now. No, but people are really real.
Uh-huh.
They're genuine. They're happy to see you. They want to see you. They want to say hi. It's not a phony smile like you see anywhere. Like in New York City, you meet people and you can tell it's a bit phony. It's not
Diplomatic meet and greet. Yeah.
exactly shake your hand. It's very cold. Where here you feel the warmth. Every time you see somebody, you feel the warmth. And especially if you say a few words in Portuguese and they realize, oh my God, he's learning Portuguese. I remember right after Christmas, I was wishing a few people Happy New Year's in Portuguese. So like our doorman at our building, he just started on. He goes on a ramble and I didn't understand, but he was all happy. And I actually, when I was walking through the market, I wished. I'm sorry, I forget his name. The
Hugo?
person Hugo. I wished Hugo Happy New Year, through a big smile.
3 hours later.
So it's that. It's just the warmth of people, and you see the faces you see when you walk. You walk somewhere, everybody's smiling. The kids are having fun. Everybody's having fun. Like I think it's one of the very few places where kids are allowed to be kids, and you can see that when you walk around. The kids are playing or running around. You don't see that in North America.
Hmm.
Some of our friends, we don't have kids personally, but our friends that have kids, if they want their kids to go play with their friends, they got to call the parents. They got to go with the kids. It's like a an organized date
It's the
basically.
paperwork. They have to
It's
go
all, yeah,
one, two times to
exactly.
get the papers in
But
there.
that's the norm now in North America. Whereas here, it's like when I grew up, you go outside, you play with your friends, when you hear your mother shouting, you come for supper, you come for lunch, get back outside, never mind the video games, never mind the TV. Just get outside, play, ride your bike. And I think this is where we're at right now. It was like our childhood, basically.
Hmm.
So
Like a trip back in time.
yeah,
You
yeah,
you already said that you have a favorite or at least a go-to place for the bifana.
yeah,
Um, and trying to avoid a little bit of the food talk and going into the city and into your habits and way of living the city now. Would you say that you have some favorite spots for different events like sunset just for relaxation? I don't know if
yeah,
you bike or you
yeah.
run.
I bike.
Is there any site that you are really like, oh no, this is a great thing that I didn't know existed and now I'm addicted to?
I think what we like to do is there's a coffee shop along the river. I believe it's called Helena. So it's a little coffee shop, and it's about 3 kilometers from our apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And we walk along the river. It's going away from the city.
Yeah.
So you pass Gondomar, and
Uh-huh.
it's basically Valongo around there. So we go there. Either we get a toshamisha, or we get a pastel, or we get the bread that's very buttered. And I'm looking at
Torrada.
torrada, and I get it. We get a couple of those galonche.
Mm-hmm.
So, or if my wife's not is having an orange juice, I'll have just a cafe, and we'll sit there, and they have the plastic chairs, and you're overlooking the Douro, and you see all the kayak clubs and the canoe clubs go by, and you look. We could see our house from there. We could see the Freixo Bridge, and you can basically see the hills of Porto, the downtown area.
But
It's
out of
on
the
a hill,
distance
so
and yeah.
the river curves a bit. So I think that's a place where we like to go, and we've been there several times, and we'll just watch the day go by.
So with the numerous recommendations you had doing all these food tours over all this time, if you had to recommend me a place to go and have I don't know, maybe some grilled fish, what would you recommend me?
You have to go to Massachusetts. I think the best grilled fish. It starts with an L. I want to say Lisotto or Andres bought us there last time,
Mm-hmm.
and the food was amazing. The seafood, the fish. But once a week, like I said, we like to go local. So we go to there's a little Sao Sao Pedro. It's
Mm-hmm.
right beside our house, right across from the Freixo Marina. And I usually like to have sea bass. It comes with a rosa. It comes with the bread, obviously, and a bottle of Vino Verde.
Mm-hmm.
We like to share that. The wife, she likes to have the pork chops or the ribs. They have an outside barbecue, well, a 45-gallon drum that's cut in half, and the guys out there cooking. And the last time we were there, which was last Saturday, I had the cod with the boiled potatoes and the
Grilled in charcoal.
no, it was I guess it was steamed,
Mm-hmm.
or it wasn't grilled. It was delicious. It was very flavorful, and yeah, we probably once a week we'll go there, and we'll have two complete meals, a bottle of wine. It'll cost like 21, 22 euros, and that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere else, like in North America, you wouldn't get out of a restaurant, like especially in New York. You with wine, it's minimum 150, $200.
How's your relationship with the wine going so far here?
We're booked on a YSAT level 2 course in at WOW,
Mm-hmm.
at the wine school in August. So we've been studying, we've been reading up a lot on that. We've always enjoyed wine. We've always collected wine, but I think being so close to WOW and the school and the offerings, I think it was time to learn a bit more. Even though we'd done multiple visits to the Douro and we visited all kinds of wineries, we've done the same in Australia, in France, in Hungary. So I think it's an evolution to go behind the wine, the
Hmm.
grape,
And understand
everything.
the origins and
Yeah,
also get deeper
exactly.
into the knowledge of it.
Yeah. So
I just to conclude, and because time flew by, so we're almost reaching
sorry.
the
I
end. No, no,
People like to
you
say
have to be
I
sorry.
have the gift of the gab.
Of the gab,
Yeah.
you
I
have
like
to
to talk.
oh, okay. But I would say it's very interesting to see how one selects a location, then moves over there and gets thrilled with the experience of somehow, instead of retiring, coming back to life yet again. Is
Yeah.
that the feel that you have coming over here?
Well, I had priorities. So one of my priorities, obviously, is to learn Portuguese. I love to cycle. So 3, 4 times a week, I try and cycle up to Douro, and I'll go anywhere from 30 to 60, 70, 100 kilometers, depending on how much time I have. Because, like I said before, being retired, we seem like we're busier now than we've ever been. There's always something to do, and of course, in the first few months, you're always doing the government stuff.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, so we're pretty busy. It's like a second chapter to our life.
Very well.
So
It's a pleasure to have you here. I
it's
cannot say
been my
anything else
pleasure.
because it's the only truth. I do still have though a gift. It's more of a souvenir.
Okay.
It's purely symbolic. I don't know if you already have one of these, but it will add to the family. It's a small swallow, as you can see here,
Excellent.
and swallows to us to symbolize an enormous amount of different things. But one of the most important things I believe they symbolize is the necessity of coming back and of basically rekindling
Yeah,
old relationships. So I hope you keep coming back and that we keep meeting each other again.
I will.
So it is an incredible
You're
pleasure.
stuck with me. I'm here.
You are here,
I have nowhere
definitely.
else to go. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you.
And we'll be back into a different episode not that long. Okay. See you there.